Yes, ma'am. Norhill is the same way. That map was so large, it hit me in the head bringing it in on Tuesday, so I didn't bring it. But we have about 10% of the people that are willing to retract. I think Norhill is a more difficult sell to repeal. I don't know that this is my opinion, I don't know that it's going to work. They have very strong deed restrictions and a very good homeowners association. I believe they don't need this protection. But the indication is they probably have 51% of the support. So I don't know. It's just going to take neighbors in Norhill to work that neighborhood a little bit. We have a Norhill coordinator?
No. But we,
yes, well, we do. He's not here.
John Stouffer, I think, is leading the charge, and we'd love to have your help. There is not a city-mandated protection. That's correct. I mean, it is a true statement. I'm hoping that what we could do is heal the community by coming back. You know what? There is overwhelming support for restrictions in our neighborhood. There really is. I am a proponent, and we will go out. We will try and work on the deed restrictions, the minimum lot size, and the setbacks back in our neighborhood. That would be the normal protection that we would have. But there hasn't been any movement to increase the deed restrictions in the last few years. I don't see people set up on the corners promoting deed restrictions. They've been set up at the corners asking you to join a historic district. We could make a concerted effort as a community to get together and say, okay, we don't want to lose these protections. Minimum lot size, deed restrictions, height restrictions, side setbacks. We can mandate the building materials. They're done all throughout Southampton. They have very good deed restrictions that work just fine without being in a historic district. So there will be a very concerted effort to go back and do that. And I think you would find the yellow sign people on board with that and the blue sign people all on board with that. We want this protection. I just don't want the mandate and the protection to be governed by City Hall. Personally. Yes, sir, you have a question? That's correct.
Is this retraction a retraction of the proposed amendments, or is it a retraction of the historic district status?
In Woodland Heights, the retraction is a retraction of petitioners who petitioned for historic district. So that's the only retractions that are working in Glenbrook Valley and Woodland Heights. So people that made an application are retracting their petition because they're not in favor of the ordinance as it is today, because they might have originally signed a petition 2 years ago that had a 90-day waiver, and now there's no longer a 90-day waiver. That's what the retraction is. These petitions are to reconsider whether or not you're going to be in a historic district.
I've witnessed several homes that got torn down just because they weren't economically feasible to fix up again. They're pretty little homes, but if you set the bar too high, if the codes are too high, then people are going to look at them and say, ooh, sheesh, I can't touch that.
Right.
And then the house gets demolished. And the onus is on us to have to update the code. Couldn't we have a looser code for older homes, more to match the code the way it was at the time that the house was built?
All of that definitely makes common sense. It's the intention of the ordinance to preserve those bungalows as a part of the living heritage, both for you and your neighbors and the rest of the city. That's the mandate of the ordinance.
And the third question is, this is close to apocryphal stuff. This is kind of in the realm of urban legend. But if you have a house with Spanish tile roof, Spanish tile, something, terracotta, that was put on there in 1927, definitely historic, but it's the only one in its block face. Everybody else has, asphalt.
Composition shingles.
From the
They don't legislate the roofs today. They're excluded specifically in the ordinance so that it would allow you to do whatever you wanted. You could use the Spanish tiles or you could replace it with composition today. There was outroar over a proposal in the middle of the ordinance about what was most common in your district, but today the roofs are totally excluded and you can do what you wanted.
Okay, and how does this apply differently to contributing and non-contributing structures? I mean, how much is allowed in a non-contributing structure? Basically,
they are treated the same with the exception of demolitions. You may demolish any non-contributing structure just fine, but other than that, if you modify an opening of a non-contributing structure or you do an extension, alteration of your non-contributing structure, you are required to have a certificate of appropriateness.
That doesn't really help to save structures and make them standing. These things can grow a lot.
Sure. Yes, sir?
Classification into contributing or non-contributing is being subjective.
Yes. We tried to insert an appeals process where individuals were notified of their status, contributing, potentially contributing, non-contributing, and give individual homeowners an opportunity to appeal that. We were not granted such a thing. It was designated by the Historic Preservation Office what was contributing and what was not contributing. The threshold was greater than 50 years. The intent was the structures at the time in which the district became, built out. I mean, that was clearly it, but certainly in the Heights, that's a gray area. It's from the 1890s to the 1930s, really. And many 1930 structures are contributing structures in our neighborhood, according to the city. We didn't have a say in it. Homeowners did not have a say in the status, to be honest. Yes, ma'am?
Something to clarify. I'm Lynn Chamberlain. I'm at 732 Equal. The lady that mentioned that if the historic designation goes away, then we have no protection.
From the
Are
city.
these restrictions go away?
No. Only from the city. We have no protection. We have no governance from the city that would restrict the
So the
property.
city of Houston, the city council would not have their hand in my pocket.
That's correct.
And
Your deed restrictions would still be in place.
my property. But the deed restrictions would still be there. And they protected this neighborhood since, is it 65?
Yes, the deed restrictions, the prevailing lot line, the prevailing lot size would all still be in play and still be a factor. Yes, ma'am? Yes, clearly there are some economic hardships, and they have improved it. I think they have improved it in the last range of the ordinance, and there have been examples where there's extreme economic hardship that you've been allowed to demolish the house. I think, yes, I want to be clear, yes, there are instances for extreme hardship for economic situations for demolitions. I wanted to also go on record. I mean, I'm not trying to demolish one house. I would like for them all to be landmarked so that we don't have to demolish them. So I'm least concerned about the demolishing of the houses as I am the ability to make them move forward into the next 100 years.
We all know that there are some people who live for a long time. They didn't have the money to renovate their house.
Sure.
There are some people in that position.
Yes.
And I was just wondering,
Yes.
I heard these parts on Channel 8 mention something about it, but
Paul, how many have been granted in the last couple of years for economic hardship for demolition? I mean, other than maybe two in the last few years that have been granted. It was more difficult. I think they are trying to make an attempt to make it easier. The 821 Columbia, I visited with those people any number of times about how difficult it was to provide the information on an economic hardship. Tax returns, incomes, balance sheets, they want the financial information on the owner of the individual and why is it an economic hardship, the burden is on the individual homeowner to prove economic hardship.
Y'all have the petitions here.
We have the petitions here. All right.
Yeah, we got people
Go.
that got to.
Okay, we're going to get to the petitions in 1 second. We're going to take one brief moment. We are in church, so we'd like to pass